very good evening and a warm welcome to all for another session of Friday Water Thesis Club. The idea of Friday Water is to wet the Fridays with fun-filled and yet fruitful activities for the future generations. Friday Water has water talkies, book reading, thesis club, and water arts. The focus of Water Thesis Club is on bringing the student scholars who have done or are doing a thesis alias research on water matters to the session in order to discuss with them the making of the thesis research and the issues around the subject covered. I am Ekta Gupta, the moderator for today's Thesis Club session. I am joined by Sonia Gupta as discussant for today's session. For today's session, we welcome our guest speaker, Ranjitha Grace, to share her research on water governance regimes in Tamil Nadu, lessons from the historic city of Madurai. Ranjitha Grace is an architect and academician dedicated towards urban water issues. Her passion for sustainable water management led her to pursue a doctoral program in water urbanism and conservation at Christ University, Bangalore. She holds a firm belief that sustainability is rooted in preserving the natural resources bestowed upon humanity and leveraging the knowledge passed down through generations. Ranjita emphasizes that water systems should be deeply intertwined with the communities that depend on and impact them. She is committed to educating and empowering the younger generation about the importance of water management practices in their daily lives. Her involvement in Project Connect, funded by Wipro Foundation in collaboration with Care Earth Trust, underscore her dedication to nurturing the water champions of tomorrow. Welcome, Rajita. And now I invite Sonia Gupta to take the session further.
Thanks, Ekta and Ranjitha. Welcome. It's great to see you once more. Welcome to the Friday Waters Thesis Club. Perhaps you're aware, we take up thesis projects, theses which will be submitted or just have been submitted. And I looked at your presentation. You have taken up a very significant topic. This is something that everybody knows in common knowledge, but nailing it down to actually acceptable theoretical and practical nuggets is something you've done very beautifully, and we look forward to your presentation. And then a very vibrant discussion after that. Yes, glad to discuss it on this session. Please request you to go ahead. The screen is all yours.
Yeah. Thank you, Sonia ma'am, Ekta ma'am, and Mansi ma'am. It's been it's good to meet you all again virtually. And thank you for opening this platform for me. And I've also been actively looking at W4W foundations, and it's been a great opportunity for me also to share my works and get an insightful feedbacks and discussion from all of you. So I'll be sharing my PPT, the presentation now. Is my
visible?
Yeah. Okay. So today I'll be presenting one part of the research which was carried out, that is water governance regimes in Tamil Nadu and lesson from historic city of Madurai. So this alignment towards or inclination towards water begin when on 2015 Tamil Nadu had faced floods, Chennai floods. My native is Chennai. So it had Chennai floods, and the very next year, that is 2016, we had a water stress. That is, the Chennai floods are happening in 2015 December, and during the May of 2016, that is hardly 6 months, not even 6 months, 5 months or odd, we are facing a water stress. So in 2016, we had a water stress, and that's where the whole inclination towards the question started. And when I was discussing with Dr. Anita Susilan, who's the professor and ed, she asked me to read a book called Dying Wisdoms by Agarwal S. Nare. in that this quote is where the starting point for the old research. The Indians have historically been the world's greatest water harvester. So the question which began was what went wrong? What happened? Because in another 5 months where we had floods and another 5 months we had water stress. So this led me towards the research in water urbanism and conservation. So we all know that around the world, this is a global problem, not just in Tamil Nadu or Chennai. It's a global problem. Even by UNICEF of WHO, it says 1 in 3% globally don't have access towards the drinking water. And also, if you see the map of India, you can see the water stress and this absolute scarcity, that is the darker blue in the second thing, is where we have Tamil Nadu as well as Madurai. So why did I choose Madurai is because one, it is an historically ancient living city. It is a cultural capital of Tamil Nadu, and also in terms of literature, because Tamil is one of the oldest language. So even in literature form, you can find a lot of literature which dates back to how water was done in Madurai. So there's a lot of relevance where we can actually get an idea of what kind of water management or water governance was done during the period. So you can see Madurai is in Tamil Nadu. So if you look at Tamil Nadu, one of the greatest challenges, it has 5 rivers, and out of it, only one is a perennial river, which means only one flows annually with water. The rest of the other four are non-perennial river, which is dependent on the monsoons. So, and also if you look at all these historical cities are near these river, like the Madurai, then we have Thoothukudi, and then we have Vellore. All these kind of cities which have this histories are aligned in that. So Madurai, as I told you, since it's a cultural hub, I've taken that. So the next one is the Madurai district map. You can see the amount of water, the small pockets of water. I'll be going in detail about it. So we are looking into the steady area of Madurai Municipal Corporation. So where River Vaigai cuts the city into half. So the north part of Madurai and the south part of Madurai. So if you look at the south part of Madurai, it's the old town where you have the Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple. And then the southern part of the Madurai is where the city was expanded because of the urban expansion, urbanization taking place. The government initiated projects like bus stops, market, hospitals through the southern bank, and thus both the side the expansion happened. So we looked first, the thing we wanted to do is we looked into the timeline of Madurai. So right from the Pandyas till the elected government, that is from 500 BC or before Common Era BCE, and till now we looked into the timeline and who was the kingship and what pattern of water governance was followed. So just pulling out few in detail. During the Pandyas, we can see it was more of a public participation, and the local governing bodies were the one who were supporting, and it was the common people who were maintaining and taking care of it. The kings and the ministers, they didn't have major role. They all these activities, and even the water was accessed by everyone, accessible to the common people. And also it was more of it was a local governing body who was taking care of the water. And even during the Pallavas, you can see they came up with the riparian rights. Now we call it as a riparian rights, which is even now followed in UK, where the plot which is nearby the water or approached by the water, they should take care of the water body. Even that was something which we followed during even in our 800 AD. So then it was more of a community based, and it was more of a decentralized water organism. And the last kingship which we have in Madurai are the Naiks. So even during that time, they came up with irrigational channels, then these ARI system, which was all engineered system, but it was a small scale engineered system which can be maintained by the government, by the community itself. So even then, even though it was an engineered system, people were able to have control of it, maintain it, monitor it, and have certain people associated with it. So there were also give and take. So if you're benefited by the water, if you're using it for the irrigation, you have to maintain it. You have to maintain it in an annual basis. If you're using the water for fishing, you have to maintain it. So even during the late King period, that is the Naiks, you can see a decentralized water governance. And then comes a transition period where we have the East Indian Company rule coming inside, moving on to the British era. And during the British era, a lot of things has changed. The first thing was all the water bodies was taken and given to PWD, that is Public Works Department. Even till now, all the water body are governed in PWD in Madurai. So, and then it also led to the groundwater revolution, because the landowner who owns the land also owns the water below the land. But we never tapped the water below the land, because we always assumed it to be an insurance. And then there was a redundancy towards the land and water, existing land water relationship, because there was a layer which overlaid the existing land water relationship, and we had all huge infrastructures, large engineered water system which was actually coming in. So there was a redundancy towards the existing land water relationship. And when it moved into the elected government after our independence day, water was something which was a political lever, where the state came up with either you get a bore well pump, or you get a free electricity, or you get a bore. So they came up with that. So through that, they were selling oats, and water was expected to be an handout, and farmers and the common people were compiled more of it. Excuse me, I'll just... The groundwater, which was an drought insurance, was being mismanaged. So through this water governance, right from the kingship till now, we can see a two prominent water governance which is happening. One is a decentralized water governance, and the other one is a centralized water governance. So decentralized was more of a community based. So to understand how morphologically this has affected, this governance has affected the land water relationship, we were able to get this map, where the first map is during the Pandyas, where the Shiva shrine in the Kodambavan forest, which is near the river Vaigai, right where Madurai Meenakshi Amman temple is. You can see that. And the second map says how the strategic location was chosen as an inland capital, the Madurai with, the Meenakshi Amman temple. And during the Sultanes and Nayak, how the Madurai was expanded, fortified, and the temple complex was done. And during the 20th century, you can see the expansion to the northern parts. And now the present is where we are marked the Madurai Municipal. So you can see the shift in the shift and change in the land-water relationship during those period. So when we looked at the connect between the water and society, we understand in a decentralized water governance, it was more of a social in nature. It had a strong community rights married with a strong community responsibility. And also, there were even restricted groups where people who were taking the area variant who took care of the lake board, and then you have the sluice board. So they were like communities were forced to plan their infrastructure and water, and they were which was dependent on the rain patterns. So it was more of a planning, and also more community oriented water governance. So when we looked at the centralized, we understood all of it was given to the PWD. So it was more of a centralized management, and the impact it created on the groundwater, and then how it was taken as a political lever aided, and which paid way to the tube well technologies, and it was used as an excellent political gamble. So we also wanted to understand how there was a social connect between the water structure, because Madurai is called as Tunga Nagaram. Tunga Nagaram means a city which doesn't sleep. So why it is called as a city that doesn't sleep? Because it has a year-long celebrations which is related to the temple or the temple tank. So we mapped all the festivals which was related to temple and temple tank. So we were able to see, interestingly, from January to December, we were able to see there are one festival which is either related to temple or the temple tank. So all the yellow boxes you see over here are the festival related to the temple and temple tanks, and all the red boxes are the festival related to the water bodies. It is River Vaigai, the temple tank, even the well. So if I take the Tepakulam, that is the January in Tamil native language, we call it as Tai. So during that time, if you see the Tepakulam, they take just like the temple cars around the tank, they take the float festival. It is also called as float festival, where they take the temple car and float like a float around the mandapa. So during that time, what happens is only when the water is there in the Tepakulam, you'll be able to perform it. And where does the Tepakulam gets its water? From River Vaigai. So through this mapping and through this understanding of how people were brought out and the connection was given, we also understand there's some kind of system, water system typologies, because there's Tepakulam, there's River Vaigai, there's channels, because each celebration had something to do with these typologies. So when we tried to find out, we found out there were three water system typologies. Predominantly, one was the non-system tanks. So non-system tanks in a native language, we call it as ARI, which collects the rainwater. And the system tanks, they are called as the system ARIs. It is a cascading tank where one tank gets filled, followed by the others. So, and then we have the temple tanks. Interestingly, temple tanks is a social gathering space, and it also serves as the barometer of the city. So it makes visible the fluctuation of the water level. So it communicates the urban water dynamics, so people can actually plan their water management ahead, looking at temple tanks. So this also connects to how this social connect between the festivals or cultural aspects of it. So as we know, because of the displacement of the governance and public participation with the tank system, the monitoring and maintenance have completely changed. So this has eroded the social connect, the social responsibility, and the people participating in water management completely. So we looked into it, and these were all the mappings which we wanted to understand. We also wanted to understand what is the current status of these water bodies. So we were able to map within the Madurai corporation limit. We were able to map 26 tanks, including the system tanks, the non-system tanks, and the temple tanks. So you can see 9 system tanks which has been mapped, and we have 11 non-system tanks, and we have 6 temple tanks. So if you looked at it, other than temple tanks, all the system and non-system tanks are owned by the Public Works Department, and the temple tanks are by the HRNC, which is Indo-Religious and Charitable Endorsement Department. So when we look into it, we also wanted to narrate the present condition of it. So temple tanks are in a very good condition, all the 6 temple tanks. But when we looked at the system tanks, out of 9 system tanks, system tanks, we have 4 which are in good condition, which has been put to use by irrigational or water harvesting sources. And when it comes to non-system tanks, out of 11, only 2 were in a good condition, put into good use. And the other surprising thing was all these encroachments or all these things which are affecting the tank on a present condition are most of the time are the proposals which has been come out during by the government. And if you look at into it, we also understand that non-system tanks are taken less care of. So this analysis also gave us the potential of how we can actually, leaving all this encroachment, even if we still able to maintain it, we will definitely have a sustainable and resilient water structure, not just depending on the centralized one, also been effectively using the decentralized one. So I'm moving to the next one. So we also mapped the present water system, and also we looked into the documents which was done, which was available, which is a micro watershed atlas of Tamil Nadu. You can see the mapping. The first one is a micro watershed atlas of Tamil Nadu, and the second one is the map which is done carried out by us. So if you look at it, we overlaid, and all the yellow overlays which you see are the overlays of the watershed mapping. So when you look at it, we were able to find in the system tanks, there are only, as per government documentation, there are only 6, but what we documented was 9, and non-system only 3 were documented, and the 12 were documented by us. So this also shows there's a gap between the mapping and the data collections, or the data which is available to the people. So from these understanding, we understand, one, the non-system tanks are rain-fed tanks. They may have an indirect social relationship, but we have to understand that it is a rain-fed tanks which supports the irrigational land. And also it was more of a livelihood and farm lands, but it is negated because our lifestyle has changed. People are no more dependent on those kind of water for their farmlands or livelihoods, but there's a loss of social connect. And also we can also see it is more vulnerable to urban rejuvenation and urban expansion, because these are all rain-fed tanks. When there is no rain, these are all just a parchment of land is what they look into. So they are more vulnerable to urban rejuvenation and urban expansion. When you look into the system tanks, they are networks of tanks. It is a cascading tanks. So they also have an indirect social relationship. Of course, it also comes under public works department, but it provides a bigger ecosystem services because of the cascading. They protect Madurai from flood, from drought control. They also recharge the groundwater, and they also act as surface water. So they have a major bigger role by helping the city from inundating or from flooding. So this is also negated by the people, because most of the time we are much worried about the water. If only the water doesn't come out of the tap, we are worried. Otherwise, it's fine. So because of the loss in the social connect, we can see that even this there's a loss. It is negated by the people. So most of the time, it is encroached in the fringes by the state or the people of the slum for development or expansion of the infrastructure. But in the fringes is what the encroachment you can predominantly see. And temple tanks, it is act as a barometer of the city, and the temple tanks as a central public space. It is woven with the temples, the festivals, the celebrations, the social relationships, and they are like more visual. But the community consider it to be a more ritual failing to understand it as an indicator of a bigger water system. It is more of a ritual based is what you see it now. We fail to understand that it is the indicator of the bigger water system. So this hierarchical social relationship which was interwoven with these tanks actually balanced the old water system from two extremes. One is the flood, and one is the drought, or one is the water stress. So this whole system which has been negated, this redundancy towards the existing land water relationship is something which we really need to look into, because this we are not talking, this is a mapping which we got from the University of Texas, which is mapped on 1920, and this is the mapping we are seeing now 2021. And you can see that the how the land water relationship has changed. And also this is not going to get any better because the population is increasing. The population has been increasing and will be increasing, and the water demand and the water supply is something which we have to look into, because Madurai gets its water from Vaigai. Even now, with Atal Mission, they came up with providing water, which is 93 kilometers away from the city, which is, there's going to be so much of wastage of water while carrying out. So I'm not saying that we are not saying that totally falling into the decentralized water system is going to be effective, but we can find some kind of a idle zone where you have your decentralized system and there's a centralized system. You can actually find an idle zone where we can have a sustainable and more resilient water governance, probably coming up and giving this redundant lay of water land relationship, giving it more importance, because a water system cannot be different from the people who need it, use it, or do things to it. So yes, so these are my reference, and yeah, thank you so much. I'm just trying to.
Right. Ranjitha, can you hear?
Yes, yes.
Okay, great. It was a wonderful presentation. And I'm also always mesmerized by the way PPT, the PowerPoint presentations works now. Yeah. So just to, get a little deeper understanding of what you have been doing, certain questions that are popping up in my mind instantly, and I have also shared my concerns with you, is that I can see from your presentation that decentralized systems,
Right.
yeah, decentralized systems seem to be, I mean, it was like you have already established, but it used to be a much more workable systems than the centralized systems that we see
Yes.
in the colonial, starting from the colonial areas, and we are still carrying the brunt of that colonial experience. And in fact, right now it is not just water supply systems, but even water treatment systems, which are more and more inclining towards decentralized,
Right.
treatment. So I'm really really very inquisitive to understand that you must have recognized certain features
Right.
in the decentralized systems. And maybe I'm just assuming that you might have studied Tamil Nadu's, like you said, the examples, and maybe some other states. So just like
Right.
put some of those features, if possible, in place. Yeah?
Okay. So the features for
As
decentralized,
observed, as observed.
observed, yes,
Yes,
as
yes.
observed. One is it allows the local communities to authorize or to manage their own water resources. They
Yeah.
can plan, they can manage, and also this can lead to a more responsive and tailored management practices. So they address the specific local needs according to the context or the condition. So this is more of a planned management in a local level and according to their needs and that is the first most important thing, because in each places it differs. Even in Tamil Nadu, I'm talking about Madurai, and then we have Tanjavur, which follows a different water system. It's the same areas, but it is totally different from what I am talking about. And then we have Kerala, the other state. It also follows the system, but it also totally have a different kind of water system typology. So it is a tailor made. Just it doesn't one size fits all. So I feel it allows the local communities, and it also, this can be a responsive and tailored made management practices, because all of the national water policies has given a leverage to the state to take care of the water bodies. Water should be accessible by all, and water resources should be conserved. That is the inbuilt statement which has been given. we have that kind of freedom to do it. And so I think it's something, the first one is that. And then it gives a sustainable and more resilience water management, because these system as what is more sustainable than creating a new system saying it's a sustainable than using the existing system. I feel that is more sustainable. So that is something which we need to understand, and which can improve the resilience of water resources against the drought and climate variability. I'm also not talking about totally shifting. The paradigm shift is not what I'm talking about, but this can definitely add to the resilience feature. This preserving it or conserving it or finding this ideal zone can actually help us to fight against the droughts and climate changes which is happening around. And then the community involvement and empowerment, because we are not looking at temples and the people were the ones who were empowering it. I went through this interesting case studies which was done in Turkey, where IWA was there, and who was recognized as a stakeholder? The religious leaders.
Okay.
And it was changed to from 31% of people being aware of water resources, it has been changed to 79%. That's a good number, right? And it's not that you need to stick on to the old stakeholdership or giving it. You can identify people, multiple stakeholdership, community who are NGO based, who are women driven communities, or it can be youth driven communities, or it can be even schools, education system who is actually benefited by water, because a lot of these colleges are right now more on the buns of the these kind of areas. Even the colleges can take and own it up. So I think of identifying a multiple stakeholdership in this context will be something which is thing. So I feel the local management and control, the sustainable and resilience feature, and the community involvement and empowerment is the other essential features is what I feel.
So, you've partially answered even my next concern. That was, I was going to place it before you. And I'll just say this, that when you say community involvement and equal access, the obvious concern that comes is, if it's everybody's, then how do you stop encroachment? How do you stop overuse? How do you stop vandalism? That is the first thing that comes to your mind. And you've already partially answered it by saying that what used to be a traditional religious system can now be managed by a different kind of a disciplinary system, such as, like you said, a school or a college, which already has a disciplined system on its own. And therefore, you can assign people, maybe faculty, maybe students, to take care of it and be responsible for it, so that if there is any encroachment which is not permitted, that can be immediately identified. And therefore, yes, so like you said, the barometer idea is fantastic, but it can only be a barometer if it is left to be. If it is going to be used unnecessarily, then it's no longer going to be a barometer. So you partially answered my next concern. Thank you so much for it. And that's how it differs from a traditional system also. Right? And I'm sure that all whatever you observe in Turkey also and the other states is that that they are, therefore these water bodies are actually contributing to what you started with by saying that at one time there is drought and less than 6 months there is flood, and less than 6 months later there is drought. That, I think, partially answers how this can also be tackled by micromanagement.
Yes.
Wonderful. So great. Now, another one, I was looking at your watershed map with a lot of interest, and brought me back all the days of geography that we did in school. And I was trying to understand that from the watershed map, can we identify anything that there's a pointer that, okay, these water systems have lent themselves to decentralization, or is it only because of other political reasons that it became certain water bodies like you've identified, the system ones, the non-system ones, they became centralized and the others remain decentralized? Is there any connection from the watershed map.
Yes, in the present watershed map, when we were analyzing, we also understood the watershed map is something which need to be analyzed and then come up with the proposals, because you can't have two different people or two different areas sharing the same watershed, because it differs. And this boundary of the catchment boundary, the sub-catchment boundary, the water cache boundary, these are all something we should be really aware of it when we come up with the proposal. Because you can't invade, or you can't say that water source is something which can be divided with these two places. Because designed in such a way, because if you take Bangalore, it was a valley system, which is where they found it as a potential, because Bangalore also has a cascading water system. So they took all the valleys, these small pockets of land is where they found, okay, this is where the water gets stored. So the way they look at the land is totally, I think it's different, and they were much more sensitized towards it. Right now, we are just looking at it as a map. The meaning behind this is where it is lost, and that is also which I feel that data, because a lot of colleges, be it in architecture or even the crowdsource information, I think all of them are doing something, wanted to do something about it. We are all mapping. Even one lake which has been mapped, if goes to a crowdsourced crowdsourced data, that will be very effective, because it's like government doesn't need to spend so much. It's a crowdsourced data. People are giving in the data which they have collected with their heart and soul, and this can by itself can be a data which can be fed into the system, and people can be and it can be available for the people, so people know, okay, you can't, this is how the water system works. But right now, if you look at it, it is all these mapping are just a document which we are looking at, not a meaningful map, or the ones we don't really understand what is why there's a watershed map, is what I strongly feel.
Okay. Understood. Another question that is coming up in my mind is that, how do you maintain records? If, for example, let's say a certain group of stakeholders own a garden, right? So they'll have an inventory that we have so many trees of so many types, and their growth pattern is like this, and maybe 1 year down the line we take another stock taking, and we understand that. In the case of decentralized water systems, water bodies, which are being maintained by, let's say, a local community, for example, it could be temple, it could be, like you said, it could be a education institution. What is the ways in which this inventory can be maintained? Any ideas on that?
Yes, this is something, because I looked into 3 various case studies for it. One was Singapore, but they are economically and technologically, they are beyond, because the common people, how they use. But I think simple as IoT apps, that is more than enough for because us in India, all of us have an access to internet, and also we have our own mobile phones. Because if you look at, we also have apps where people actually identify the birds, they take a photo of it and they post it. Right? It's simple as that, and people are ready to do it. I think you don't need to flamboyant your thinking, but a simple grounded, which can be done by even by a common man, is what works, I feel.
Great. I think you answered this so well, and it's so simple to convey, because there are many people in this world beyond you and me who are not into delivering educational systems or looking deeply into things, who will ask, I want to do something, but what can I do? Right? And these are such beautiful answers for that, because the knowledge that we have been very privileged to acquire must be shared. So thank you for that very brilliant answer. And my third question to you has become the fourth, but this has already been answered, because you've talked about Turkey, you've talked about Singapore, and I think that is well answered. So with that, I will request Mansi, because I know that she always has a host of questions also brimming in her mind. So please, Mansi, do take over.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sonia, and thanks, Ekta, for initiating the conversation and wonderful presentation, Ranjita. And
Thank
as
you.
usual, I'm going to play the devil's advocate for the day. So, my first question, because it is a PhD research,
Right,
I am more inclined to look at the theoretical aspect of it
right.
and the methodological aspect of it.
Yes,
You had a good presentation. However, there is a but, which I always like. And in architecture, that but is also always very painful. So I am curious to understand from you what methodologies you are using. I understand one will be definitely archival study, which will be
yes,
one. But how you are doing archival study? Is it a content analysis? Or what actually your research methods are? Case study, you mentioned case study right at the end, which
right.
was, uh, of course, in 25 minutes, 20 minutes, you can't present more. But as part of your larger research, I'm more keen to understand that. And
Okay,
when you present a grounded project or a situation like this, and especially when we are grounding to the past, it also becomes very important to understand which scale you are talking about, and what is the theoretical background that is going to support your research in the longer run. We have to remind ourselves constantly, and that's why we do these thesis club sessions, that PhD is more about developing a philosophy of the subject, and the subject itself is just a tool to develop the philosophy.
philosophy. Yes,
Also keen to understand from you, because you did talk about decentralization. So what is that scale of decentralization you are talking about? Because in the past, that it was a homogeneous small hamlets, or which we call them villages. And in a heterogeneous village now, or a town, so within a town, within a city, what is that decentralization? As I mean, if I understand, and decentralization to me is not a theoretical concept, it's an approach. Yeah. So
yes,
you are already, I feel, in your work, you have a prejudice and a biasness for decentralization. So, see, as I told you, I'm going to be the devil's advocate for this
right.
session. So, I really wish to understand from you, where is your scale of decentralization? Who are these people who are going to work together in doing this decentralization process? If not you, me, and Sonia, who are those people, and where do they live? And what is the scale of operation which you are envisaging? See, these are the philosophical questions which are going to help you to get onto an abstract. In PhD, the groundwork is for understanding the subject. You have to develop an abstract out of it. And I
Right.
am keen to know if you have developed and you have consciously kept out of it. I'm very keen to learn about it, but definitely more methods than archival studies. Have you used people's perception? Are you
Yes,
doing
yes.
ground measurement? So please tell us
Okay, so I'll answer I think I understood
the
the
first part.
questions into two. So
Yes,
one,
there are
I'll
two
start with the
questions.
methodology. So
Yes,
in methodology, the first thing is, of course, for me to start, I went through the archival studies. So in
yes,
archival studies, I went through the inscriptions, the
yes.
literatures, and
Hmm.
also the interviews.
Hmm.
Interviews in the temple, where,
Okay, so you have expert interviews already as part of your method.
yes. So, and then also from, uh, of course, from the research papers. So
Hmm.
these were the tools for archival studies. And the
Hmm.
next one was mapping. So
Okay.
site mapping. So I
Hmm.
went to the site. Of course, it's a very big place because Madurai as a district is a very big place. So that's
Yes.
why I limited to Madurai corporation limit. So
Hmm.
the boundaries has been changed. Why I went to Madurai Corporation Limit is was I was able to get River Vaigai, the old
Hmm.
historic city, and the expansion. So I was able to get the essence of it within the Madurai Corporation Limit, and it is the present mapping also. So I
Hmm.
felt that would be an ideal place to do the site study. So I did my site analysis. Of course, site study, site mapping, site analysis, and also I went for the people perception survey because
Okay.
Right now the livelihood has changed, the lifestyle has changed, and even the context of the whole water system has been changed. So I really wanted to understand from the people. I can always say, yeah, this can be done, but I wanted to understand whether the people want it to be done, want that to be done. So we had a people set of questions. One was, for example, I categorized into three. One was on social connect, and one was on the current scenario and the memories of the water body they have. So and what they want for the water body, what they dream for the water body is what. And I was able to but I took four water bodies alone, not all of it. I just took four water bodies in different contexts. One was in the old town, the other one is a peri-urban, while the other one was urbanized. So I took it in four different categories.
You had a transaction.
Yes. So at every part of it, and every part of Madurai Municipal Corporation, and I took the interviews of the people who were surrounded in that water body alone. So I did a simple stratified method where people either related to the water body or stay near the water body or use the water body for something or the other. They are the ones who have interviewed, not everyone. So I used that method. And of course, I went through a lot of other case studies to understand how this was actually finding to get it grounded. I can easily say, let's shift to decentralized water system, but that's not going to happen because the people which we are talking about, the population which we are talking about is way more than what it was. So definitely we have to find some kind of integration towards it. So I have to go look into the international case studies also. So, and key interviews were also been one of the part of the research. So it is more of a qualitative oriented research. So at each phase, I have to introduce some kind of methodology to strengthen my findings. So I have to go in through a lot of other methodologies so that I can strengthen up saying that yes, the people want it. No, they don't really want it, and this case study is a success. So maybe it can't be used over here. So I need to find a national level also case studies. So it has been a more of bringing in a lot of other methodologies to validate my data system.
So what is that? So just to understand from you, because if people, did people say that they will participate in this whole decentralization process and they will spend time and or money or anything? Because then you can see a PhD research it has to be really clear what you get from here, and you cannot really make it up from your side, whatever people say. So, and that was actually exactly my question, which about decentralizing. So within the Madurai city, the corporation limit, you have identified 4 cases. So even if from the 4 cases, if you say of the 4 cases, 2 lake communities or 2 tank communities, majority people said that they will participate in the decentralized process. It's a finding from PhD. So I'm just curious to understand from you, what exactly are people talking about? Are they ready for decentralization? Because you have to understand when you talk about a case like Singapore, it's a highly centralized system. So we have to be also careful when we choose case study. We have to justify case study to say, I'm learning from here what should be done or should not be done that way. So there are very good examples of decentralized system. For example, Japan, Hyogo Prefecture, everybody must go and see if you have not studied it. It's called Museum of Lakes. So where every community is taking charge of each of the lake, but it is centrally guided, not monitored only, but guided as well, what they should be doing, but community gets the benefit out of it. So maybe you will come up with something that people know that what they get out of if they invest their time, energy, and money into it. Did you find anything like this from your people?
Yeah. During the people perception study, it was an happy finding because what predominantly we understood was the tank which they were dependent on. For example, I'm taking 2 different tanks. One is the Cellur, the other one is the Madakulam. So Madakulam, they used it for livelihood, they used it for farming, they also used it for rituals. So there were a lot of things, and people were very much interested to revive that.
Okay, wonderful.
And in Cellur, people were very bothered. They were like, weekly once we get pipe water, we are okay with it. As long as that doesn't stop, we are okay with it. They were not interested because they were in the urban place. Their livelihoods have been changed. They are different. So the question was like, okay, if you are benefited by it, if you are having a shop near it,
Then
you
only
have
they
to
will
take care of it.
contribute, no?
Yes, yes. So it is give and take away is what we are understood. If you're dependent on it, or if they are socially connected to it in some, even the smallest way, they are ready to come and revive it. But if they are not, they are, I think unless and until they are put into that kind of situation is when. So it was a different. So we also understood we have to drag in the people, and that's why interestingly, I think that's why the temple festivals were celebrated in such a way that people were pulled to come out, and then they were able to understand it. But right now it's more of a event is what is happening. It is not we don't understand the depth of it. So I think we have to find that kind of connect. To bring back the connect, we have to find, because going back into the same thing and telling that temple you can have festivals and people, and they are still doing it. People are going for cultural activities, and if we ask them if something happens over here, will they go? They are also ready for it, but they don't understand why it is done. So the capacity building, the education or the training is also something which is missing, because they don't understand the bigger system of it. So only if they understand the bigger system of it, they understand that that water system which they are talking about is also part of it. It is like a small part of it. They don't understand that. So that is something which we felt there should be a lot of capacity building, trainings or workshops or education where people understand how it works and why we have to actually make it
Wonderful.
work.
So you have a lot of work to do, but I will pick one thing from Sonia and inform you, because you were talking about where is the community, who is the community going to work. There is a wonderful program run by Sri Aurobindo Society from Puducherry. Because you are from Chennai, I must share,
Right.
because I was doing one of their this ERI rejuvenation project
Okay.
evaluation, and they have a wonderful program called One School, One Pond project. So, and
Okay.
they are running it for quite a good time now. They have also come on our Wednesdays for water session, and they have told us how they run that program. So,
Right.
we do have these systems in place. It's just about how do we get a multiplier effect of that system. So, I
Right.
think my recommendation to you will be to not make your own recommendation, but tell us what the horse's mouth is telling us,
Right.
and based on that, maybe suggest us in future when you are finishing your PhD, what kind of institutional arrangements are required,
Right.
so that people are motivated to work on it. Today, I walked a lake with 170 students from Ahmedabad University, and I could see amongst the youth that they want to do so much, but they don't know what they have to do, what they should do. And that's where the institutional arrangement, or the rules of the game, or how public should engage, somebody has to write it, and also the nuances, what do they get out of it after doing, even if it is monetary benefit, even if it is identity benefit, reward, direct getting water, I don't know, but maybe listing them out and supporting the local government. So thank you so much. I can go on and
Thank you.
on this subject, but I hand it over to Sonia and Ekta. Thanks, Ranjita. Thanks for giving me
Thank
the
you.
opportunity to play this devil's role.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much. I think it took a different twist, but very, very essential twist to this discussion today. And yes, we wish you all the best
Thank you. Thank you so
in
much.
all your future endeavors, and hope to meet you, not meet you, but also meet you in person.
Sure.
And just as
Over.
Mansi
But
said,
stay around, huh? Ranjita, stay.
just as you said that Mansi mentioned about the Puducherry example, it would be really wonderful. I will personally be also following that, so that there is
Yes.
a lot of learning
Sure.
as well.
Yes.
Yes, and with that, I'll hand over to Ekta.
Yeah, thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Mansi. And thank you so much, Ranjita, for such a wonderful session. So, Sonia and Mansi has already asked a lot of questions, and I think our audience are well uh, get a good knowledge about the various water systems and especially the centralized, decentralized, and as per discussion, only centralized or decentralized systems can't work. It should be a hybrid system with the consent of the people and for the benefit of the people. So water is the most essential commodity for all of us to live, because we used to say the blue planet, green planet. So Earth is blue because of water, and green because of the plants, and both the things needs for the survival of the human beings. So it's really a very good research, and I gratitude to Mansi that she has started these sessions, and we all are learning a lot about these thesis sessions, and these research, how this research can be helpful to the common people. So as Ranjita has discussed about the people's perspective, so people's perspective is most important. As she started her research from the archive data. So history, and how the history has evolved, and where we were and where we are, and how these transitions has done, and is it really a need for further development, as we used to discuss, or we have to go back to the roots. So what is right and wrong is the question, still the question mark, and a huge, I said, very never lasting discussion, conversation, whatever we say. So I think these discussions should continue. And thank you, Ranjita, for giving the full insights from history till today. So definitely, we all have to think about it from the people's perspective, from the experts' perspective, that what's the right and what the wrong, going back or going forward with some new developments. So these new developments should be inspired by our roots, or we have to reinvent something. So that's my take on this session. And thank you so much, Mansi. Thank you, Ranjita. Stay connected, and all the best for your future ventures.
Yeah,
So
thank
now
you.
it's
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
time to announce the upcoming sessions. So we would love to welcome all of you for an interactive session of Monday Munching and Musing with Women for Water to acknowledge and appreciate their water endeavors. On August 5th at 5 p.m. IST, we shall learn about Sujana Dhar. Joining link is in the chat box. In the forthcoming Wednesday for water session on 7th August 2024, 5 p.m. IST, to join for NBS series hosted by Gurujal for a discussion on regulatory frameworks on NBS in India. The joining link is again in chat box. The next Friday Water Thesis Club is on September 13th, 5 p.m. to discuss social ecological urbanism with Shiba Amir. So you all are requested to follow us on W4W social media links on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram, and also our website W4W.in for regular updates. All our videos are available on the YouTube. So follow us on all social media links, as well as visit our websites and join us for another wonderful sessions continuously. Thank you.